First and foremost, I should just thank all of you to be with us tonight at the very first day of the second series, which we started this year. Last year we had 6 of them, as you remember, and I think this year it will be better. By your presence, by your support, we appreciate that. But we're here together tonight to celebrate many things. You know, first and foremost, this is the Black History Month, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Lonnie? So this is so important. Why it is... This is extremely important for many reasons. This is important for the history of the United States. This is important for the history of the city. This is important for the history of Turkish-American relations. And fourthly, this is important for the history of this magnificent residence. When segregation was at its height in this town, 1940s, the then ambassador had 2 sons. 2 sons were teenagers, and they, at the time, I mean, with all due respect to all our American friends, was not quite pleasant to make friendships with the African American here. But that was in our culture, and the culture, the heritage and everything of the Turks. They developed so great friendships with the African American community of this town. And they started inviting them to, because they were all jazz musicians, like Duke Ellington, so many very important names. They were nobody then, but they were friends of our ambassador's sons. And that son, I mean, that one of the sons was Ahmet Ertegün, the other one was Nesuhi Ertegün, who happened to establish this Atlantic Records music company later on, 1947. And so they started inviting the African American musicians together with the others, you know, the whites. And jazz jam sessions were very popular in this house. And of course it attracted some negative attention. Again, with all due respect to all the Congress and senators and everybody. But one of the senators from the South wrote to our ambassador. He said, "Mr. Ambassador, I pass by your embassy every single day on my way to the Congress, and I see so many black people, you know, coming in and out through the front door. And what is this? I mean, is this true, what I see? This shouldn't be the treatment that they should receive." And our ambassador wrote back and responded very courageously. "I don't know whether I would do or I would dare to do the same thing if I were the ambassador at the time." But he said, "Yes, Mr. Senator, what you have seen is true and absolute truth, because it is our tradition to host our friends through our front door. That's why you see so many black people. I mean, they're our friends, so they come on in and out and this and that." I said, "If you happen to come one day to be our guests, we'll be honored, or more than honored. But you should know we would host you through our back door." Yeah. So that's the courageous letter he wrote back. And there are some others. Some other episodes of this whole story by Lonnie. I just respectfully ask him to tell you his story, and I think he's going to tell you the story.
I am touched that this is a night that honors Black History Month, that honors a museum whose job it is to help all of Americans remember stories that are often left out of our history books. And we are pleased to be here, and I want to thank the ambassador. And I also want to thank Coca-Cola, not just because they're a sponsor of this important night, but they're also one of the founding donors of the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So thank you very much. And I also want to acknowledge our members of Congress who have supported this museum for many years. So thank you for your continued support for the Smithsonian. It means a lot to us. But I'm especially honored and humbled to be here tonight because of the importance of the Turkish embassy in my own life. In 1970, I was a college freshman at Howard University. And if you remember, well, I'm getting old, but many of us may remember Washington was a very different city in 1970, and that there were parts of this city where a young African-American male wasn't supposed to go. And I remember sitting down the first week of class at an orientation session, and somebody said, listen, you're going to experience things in this city that may be dangerous. So you've got to think about how do you take care of yourself. And the one thing they said that I'll never forget, they said that if you're ever in the DuPont Circle area and something happens, you feel threatened, make your way to the Turkish embassy. Now, I was lucky. In those days, I was fast, so I ran other directions. But in many ways, what I was pleased about is that when I first came into this building and both saw the beauty of it, but remembered for the first time that the Turkish embassy was always considered a safe haven. What's wonderful is that now it is still a safe haven, but it's a safe haven for those that love jazz as well. So in many ways, I am very honored to be here because this is a place that once meant a lot and continues to mean a lot to this city. And I thank the ambassador for carrying on that tradition. Thank you.
In 1989, Nesuhi called me and told me that he had heard a tape of this young trumpet player from Texas, Roy Hargrove. And he was really struck by his talent. And he mentioned that the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland on that summer intended to do a tribute to Nesuhi. And he asked me if it was possible that Roy could be involved. And I said, absolutely, just tell me the date. And as it turned out, he contacted Claude Nobbs, who is the director and producer and innovator of the Montreux Jazz Festival, and insisted that Roy Hargrove be involved in this. And Claude didn't know who Roy Hargrove was. He was insignificant in the music business at that time. But Nesuhi insisted that Roy be involved. And so, therefore, we went to the the Montreux Jazz Festival with Roy's band that we were touring with. That included the incredible drummer Jimmy Cobb on drums, Walter Booker on bass, Ralph Moore on tenor, Tonk Edwards on guitar, and we had a wonderful time. And it was the concert involved Dizzy Gillespie and his band, Carmen McRae and her band, and Roy Hargrove was asked to come and sit in with all of those groups. And it, in fact, was one of the major points of launching Roy Hargrove. So it was such an honor for us to be asked to come here and be part of the Ertegun Jazz Series.
It was great. I've never been to this place before. I think it's very honorable for us to, be able to play in a place like this, being into the history of it and everything. So I'm just very honored to have the opportunity. Well, my group is it's a quintet, features Justin Robinson on alto and Sullivan Fortner on piano, Amin Salim on bass, and Quincy Phillips on drums. And we play all over the U.S. and Europe, and we have yet to make a recording yet, but I'm working on that. And I'm just, we play the music, and that's what we love to do. That's pretty much it. I believe in putting your heart in everything you do. So if you're a musician, you should give your all and give 150% and put your heart into it. That's what I'm about. And I think that if you're going to be a musician, you should just be fully that.
I've worked at Jazz at Lincoln Center for 11 years, and Ahmet Ertegün has always been very central to our understanding of our own history. His widow, Mika, has been to all of these concerts that we've held here, and the premise for the concerts when the ambassador came to us was to have music, jazz music, in this house again, quality jazz music. But for us, we saw it as an opportunity to introduce artists whose talents temporarily exceed their fame. People who are very well known to us, who are phenomenally talented, but who may not be so familiar to the wider public. And so this was a really unique opportunity for us as an organization to build on some of the relationships with younger musicians or people who have become established and who we felt, deserved an opportunity like this. Because something about our own work is simply about making more work for jazz musicians. It's great to have more gigs, and this was a wonderful opportunity to do that. It has, of course, blossomed into something much bigger, with first the Boeing company and then the Coca-Cola company now, and the relationships of the people who've been here, both invited guests and through the Embassy's Facebook page, members of the public, to solidify our relationships with the Washington, D.C. diplomatic community and the jazz community particularly has been really rewarding. All of the musicians who've performed here have had a wonderful, wonderful time.